Welcome everybody to Off the Record. Now on the record for this part of the session, Airtable Secrets and Lore. This is week 18. So thank you all for coming. And a little introduction, we are a group of Airtable users looking for new ways to use Airtable to optimize our businesses and lives, and open to hearing from anyone about their experiences, good or bad, using Airtable to make a positive impact in the world. We attempt to promote people coming from any level to share their experiences, share your ideas, or ask questions. And we also share our experiences, tips, and best practices, and offer a lot of good ways to get involved in the community. So we meet every Wednesday from 7 p.m. Eastern time to 7:30 in Clubhouse, and 7:30, sometimes till 8:30 here in the Facebook group. So to kick things off, typically we go through Airtable news. I see we got Camille joining. Typically we go through Airtable news. The big news this week was Adalo getting 8 million in funding, Notion releasing an API, and more copycat killers. I think that was it. Chris, did you have anything else for news?
Nothing this week. Nothing was blowing up except for my posts in Facebook.
Yep.
Except my posts in Facebook are blowing up. Some radical real knowledge seem to be touching lives.
Already off the rails, are we?
You get like dopamine highs or whatever those highs are called when you get so many likes on comments and stuff and posts.
Well, it's funny because I didn't even know the one was getting trendy until I think it was Rebecca referred to someone calling me Karen, which, you know, I was like, okay, you can call me Karen. Just call me for dinner. So yeah, no, I didn't know. I think Adalo, like I said, we were talking about it earlier. Adalo, you know, I've been looking at it for a year, thinking about it. Adalo is to Airtable what Bubble is. Bubble's a great way to build web apps, right? The pricing is pretty straightforward with Bubble. You know, if I was going to start over and just go hardcore, I wouldn't look at the stackers or any of these groups. I'd go straight to Bubble, right? Bubble's going to give you a lot more flexibility. But if you seriously want a mobile app, to me, the only way to go, and I've looked at it, is Adalo. Now, Adalo pricing is pretty steep. I think it was Daniel that called it out earlier. You go from free to $50 quick. That's a little pricey. But as we were saying when we were in the off the record, you know, at some point we have to realize no code's true cost is you end up paying for a developer, just not the body. And maybe no code's deep, dark secret is we don't like people. Thoughts? Talk amongst yourselves.
I feel like people, from what I've seen, like people enjoy the intuitiveness of no code and like being able to do it themselves, and like having that sense of accomplishment of like, can give a lot of like non-tech people that like, yeah, I just built this whole system, and maybe it's not like exactly structurally sound as it should be, but it works, and it works for them, and they built it, so they have a lot more ownership there than someone else.
It's empowering people.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ben, you'd mentioned earlier in the Clubhouse that it's a great rapid prototyping tool, and also we talked about the fact that every company has a different set of requirements, a different business plan, so that, you know, if you're going to outgrow this quickly and you're not using it for a rapid prototyping tool, you could explore. We use WordPress, and we know that requires a lot more technical skill, but you can farm out all the hardware and get WordPress as a service. But then you're putting an upfront investment in development costs, where, you know, Adalo and these other no-code solutions will let you rapidly prototype, figure out if you need to go there or not. Different strokes, I suppose.
I remember I had a call with a Gap developer at like Gap Consulting, and he was telling me about how when he first started, he was like starting to make his bases in Airtable, and he realized that he would hit that record limit, but he would start designing his bases, and he'd just get the schema there with all the fields, and then you would hand that off to a developer, and that way they didn't have to go through like how easy it would be to use the database. Like they figured out all the functionality, and I'm not like a real developer to where I could like code one of these databases. But then they would just hand that off with like the perfect functionality, and it'd be very easy for the developer to make it.
It's like a great way of expressing requirements. Most users can't sit down and write a document for you, but if you can see that schema, you've got a lot more going for you. If you're a developer, just, okay, fine, I see what you're doing. I think you're right.
And you can even use Airtable. Like, forget, building a prototype in Airtable as a schema. You can use its linking and relational capabilities as a better way to actually like list out the various like brackets of things. Like you can list out your dimensions and link those to process stages, and you can link process stages to the key measures you're trying to do in some kind of system. Then you can link those to like what influences them, and then what fields you need to get into those. And you can actually like link that out and then build that into a sheet in a way that's kind of intuitive, even just planning for database like projects.
Yeah. I mean, you can really flesh things out. There are things you can do with a traditional relational database that Airtable will never be able to touch because they don't give us the SQL interface. But to fully lay out what you want to do and get it down in detail and show it to users and share it with developers, I think you're right.
I think there's something else that we don't talk about enough with no code that I wish more people would, and it's therapeutic. Most of the people I know in the no code or traditional coding space are somewhere on the neurodiverse spectrum. So they're either dealing with some type of ADHD, some autism, PTSD, a lot of different things. And I think at the end of the day, if we saw software tools, regardless of what they are, through the lens of a way to deal with your emotions, we'd talk less about code and more about people. And I think this is really what the promise of no code is, because some of the solutions we're seeing building, if we can pull back from the precipice of people trying to replicate the nightmare that we've just left, before the pandemic, of going into offices for 10 hours a day and working with toxic people who literally have bad relationship skills. And we can say, are there things I can build that make my life better? Then, yeah, I mean, no code, I think, has a significant route. I'm doing a live stream with Marie Pullen, and she has hundreds of thousands of viewers, and I think it'll be a great thing this week. But we specifically are talking about the role of no code tools and emotional health this Saturday. We're doing it live. And, I've been working hard all week long to kind of say, well, what are the things people do? I don't think there's anything wrong with spending hours rearranging Airtable. Most of the people who do that because it's easier than cutting yourself, right? Most people who spend time redoing these things are doing it because they're hurting. Yet we don't acknowledge that. We don't make it okay to use emojis. We don't make it okay to create, creative linkings. And when I think about, the system that I built, more people contact me, not because of this great Airtable I have. They contact me because of this, because I made a picture that talked about my life, right? This is what people want. They don't want an Airtable. They want to see their life. They don't want someone else telling them it's okay, or another pill. They want to use emojis and have feelings. And I think if we can just cut back to thinking about how does Airtable allow you to interface with yourself, regardless of the job you're doing, whether you're building an accounting system or something to track the stars above you, it allows you to interface with yourself in a way that no tool ever has, except for maybe Microsoft Paint in 1995. And we have to stop being ashamed to say that we're human, and we sometimes need to distract ourselves with creative things. There's nothing wrong with that. That's all I have to say about that. Any neurodiverse people want to speak up and represent?
Well, I've never actually been officially diagnosed, but I've had good reason to believe that I'm on the autism spectrum. And I was messing around with my Eternity base and added all of the dates back to my birthday, and realized that my life touches 5 decades, which for someone in my 30s is a little bit uh, uh, numbing, or like awe-inspiring. Um, and also realized that 16,000 records in a database, that's a lot of records to scroll through. So I kind of understand why they've limited it to 50,000, at least until they figure out some way to help us parse through those records fast. So
Views.
yes, yeah, and that's literally what I've
Filter it, view it,
added.
group it, collapse it. You name it.
Simply 5 views, one for each decade.
I'm telling you, if it wasn't for views and groups, groups are my secret sister from another mother. I'm telling you, groups.
Have a view per decade and group it by year.
So that's just gonna show you guys in my timeline view. So, my first table is kind of like me, my spouse, and my second table is my values. But my timeline view is exactly that. So I actually have a decades view in here, and my decades go all the way back to the 30s. So the birth of literally my mother. And what it's allowed me to do is come in here and get really granular with, to me, it's broken by types, right? So, every decade or every year there's a birth, there's an age, you turn a new age, you could possibly live a new home, you have different pets, you have different jobs, you have different amounts of income you earn, and then there's certain deaths. And I call this other thing Christery, it's just mine, but like kind of significant moments. But what this has allowed me to do is kind of create this, what I call love calendar. And the love calendar for me integrates straight into my Google Calendar. And it allows me to share with my family and anybody I care about significant dates from my history or our histories. So I have a major events calendar or a love calendar, and I allow my friends access to this form where they can go and create memories that we've created together that write to the love calendar, right? And again, I think this is, I'm sorry if this is like boring people, but I think this is the type of thing, like it's a really important thing to start to like, well, what could your Airtable do to make you closer to the people you love? Side note, this past week, I spent 3 days building up my views because I want all my view menus to be the same. And I finally defaulted to these sets. So basically every table has global views, type views, primary views, embed views, and form views. We'll talk about why I chose those in a minute and my descriptions for them. But it ended up being like really cool for me to start to apply these views and then get in here and like look at these different things. If you could just see all the homes you've lived in, right? And all the jobs you've had, it's remarkable. And as you guys know, I also have like a big map where I can actually see this stuff like on an actual map. I call it my world of love map. It's down here. Go ahead and write. It allows anyone to come in here, including my friends, to drill into specific cities or memories and see the memories from those times and places. So Daniel, I'd really encourage you, keep going. One of the things I've been doing with kind of my love table here, my timeline table, which is all the love features that connect to the rest of my base, is I have a 10-year-old sister-in-law. Don't ask me, it's a long story. It's because my husband's younger, so like stuff rolls downhill. She always thinks she's our daughter. But one of the things I've been doing is working with Ancestry.com and 23andMe and secretly mapping their entire family history by interviewing them and getting notes from them. So on her 18th birthday, I'm going to hand her a copy of this base in some format so she can explore her life.
I was literally about to say when I saw that you had your mother's record, it sparked. I was like, genealogy.
That's so weird.
Literally, I got the Miro board up here. I like wrote it down.
Yeah. And it's one of these things because, let's talk about genealogy in Airtable, right? It's just such an easy thing to do, and make a form, send it to relatives and say, hey, fill out anything you remember. If you remember a date, just put in a date. One of the things I do in my love tables, if you don't know a date, you can put in a decade. If you don't know, you can literally put in a year, a decade. I have drop downs for these things because a lot of times we don't remember. If you have any pictures. And what's so cool is browsing on a map or browsing on a calendar, pulling up and reading that person's memories of that day. Mm-hmm. It's like Wikipedia shouldn't be saved for like these important things that some people think, right? Every single person I think owes it to themselves. Like, what could you do for yourself or for your community? I'm gay, right? Gay history is being wiped out. I mean, a lot of the when I was growing up, first off, I lost a lot of people from HIV and AIDS, but like a lot of bars are closed now because of apps. No one really goes to bars anymore. Let's just forget the pandemic for a second. So I reached out to the LGBT History Society in San Francisco and said, I will build you an Airtable and you can crowdsource every matchbook picture, whatever it is. Let's resurrect gay history. We need a street view for cultural history. You should be able to drive around New Orleans or any city and look at it through the lens of its cultural heritage. Drive through it as an African American. Drive through it as an LGBT member in the 80s. Like, this technology is there to be used this way. Stop building payroll systems. Sorry.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if I'm at a point where I'm trying to like learn, what does Black history look like? What does, and like I'm ready to listen, but like sometimes it just, you really have to put it into context of time and place to be able to recognize why it's so relevant for a specific reason.
And I think that's a good thing when you take gentrification. So Google Street View right now will let you drive through really any city. But again, I want to see the gentrification costs from Google Street View, right? Let me see the displaced people. We are so missing the mark with our technology. I literally wrote a book called Don't Unplug, but we are so missing the mark with, like, I think how these things.
Pitch.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't ever pitch my own stuff. I mean, well, I guess I do. I pitch me. But listen, the secret is I'm secretly pitching you.
And that's
That'll freak you out when you wake up and realize Chris Dancy was talking about me this whole time. Yes, I am. But yeah, so Daniel, I think it's a big deal. But again, Airtable with it, the Maps integration is gold. Camille, have you ever done anything with Maps integration for any of your customers that was, I don't know, not businessy?
The types of things I do are so specific and limited, more so than you might imagine.
Tell us about your calendar for everything. We talked about it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, geez.
I loved it. I became famous for putting all of my stuff in Google Calendar through separate calendars. So when I saw you'd created this, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, Camille is my daughter.
Well, you see, it all happened a year ago. You may or may not remember, Airtable had a hackathon for custom apps, and my first idea for that was master calendar, and I got 60% of the way there and then realized that it's insane. Just the under the hood of master calendar is like a nightmare. And it took from that point, which was last March, until recently for it to be completed. And I just, so many times in like all the different Airtable communities, people were asking, I have multiple tables in a base. I want to look at one calendar. What do I do? And aside from exporting all of them into Google Calendar, but then you can't edit anything, there wasn't really an option. So I built one.
I loved it. I haven't had a chance to sit down and play with it yet, but I know you did that one. And the other one I loved was the room reservation system. Again, when I saw the room reservation system, the room reservation was yours, right?
Yes.
Yeah. When I saw room reservation system, you know what I saw? I didn't see like conference room reservation system. I saw displaced environmental disaster system, right? Just like Airbnb has open houses where you can volunteer your Airbnb house, like to donate to someone. I thought, Camille's sitting there building like real solutions for like, not that your solution wasn't real, but I thought like the whole Airtable for a good thing. I just love it, Camille. I can't get enough of you. I wish there were 100 of you.
Camille, have you ever been on Built on Air?
I am the host of Built on Air. One of two.
Oh, that's
well,
right.
Technically one of four.
You and Ali and who else?
Dan, and then this week we had Jen on as a host. So we have like a rotating fourth ghost host, if you will.
So
wait a minute.
One host interview another?
We switched up our format. Things are new.
Oh, that's right. It's like a live talk show thing.
Yeah.
Has Gareth interviewed you yet for his show?
He will eventually.
Yeah. You know, at some point we have to realize we're all wife swapping.
Yeah,
Because
I've joked that I'm everywhere in the realm of Airtable, and my express goal is to infect literally every community,
yeah.
which is why I'm here now.
So Camille, how do we find out more about MasterCal?
You can ask me directly.
Can
and
you
I will
do it?
tell
Can you
things.
do a little demo or pull something up for us right now? Can we put you on the
right
spot?
now? I mean, sheesh,
How about,
okay.
how about you get it?
Okay.
You get it ready. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do a 2-minute commercial while you get it ready.
Oh,
I can't
geez.
remember if it was just Chuck or Daniel, but we were talking about data with geolocation. I wanted to share a screen with you. So I did something for MIT back in 2013 or 14. You can find the talk I did at MIT on YouTube somewhere. But I created this view of data. And what a lot of people don't understand is when you're thinking about data in Airtable, like think about the data, but also think about the contextualized version of the data, right? So everything has a time. We all know that. We work with dates. But then just now, a second ago, I was talking about location, right? And this stack literally is the way data is ordered. So if you ever wanted to build a time machine, you're looking at the blueprint. But beyond location, the next thing is kind of environmental variables. So the light, the sensors. And the way I tell people to think about it is like, if you don't have time, you're dead. Okay, if you're someplace, if you have time and you're no place, you're dead, right? Well, the next thing is environment. Like if you don't have light, sound, temperature, all sorts of other, humidity, other things, you're dead, right? So that's another environmental thing on the stack. The next thing is activity. So you could have time, you could be someplace and at some type of conditions, but you have to be doing something, sitting, walking, riding, moving or not moving, right? While you're sitting, if you're doing all of that, then you also have to be doing something while you're sitting, walking in a place at a time, music, listening, photos, being in a meeting. And then finally, you have to have some biological response to that. And what a lot of people can't kind of get their heads around is if you had the data around these 6 pieces of information for every moment in the day, you could recreate any moment in time for any point of view. You could embody another human being and see the world almost like VR. And kind of my goal has always been with Airtable and all the data projects I do is to really say, what is the closest we can come to human fidelity with the information we gather to replicate the experience so that we can start to share lived experiences. When Daniel talked about, what it would be like to be a certain culture of people in a city, I just think it's such an exciting time, like half the world is sitting around waiting to go back to work. We could be building this stuff. We call it Dare Table or something instead of Airtable. Camille.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Did I buy you enough time?
Sure.
All right.
We need to keep that name. Hold that.
Airtable.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right. Well, this beautiful monstrosity is Master Calendar. Basically, what it is that I have in this example base. This is just a template I pulled off of Airtable's template gallery. There is a table for a bunch of different articles that one might write for social media, and then all the tasks related to that, whether it be you have to write the article versus you have to like edit the article, etc. There's a thing in here for timesheets, and then another table for events, just to demonstrate that there's multiple different tables. All of them have at least one date field that you might want to show in relation to each other. And so Master Calendar basically lets you, if you go into the settings, for any table, for any date field, you can add it as what I call the feed. I've set it so you can have multiple feeds per table. So if I look here, I have the table content production. I have 2 feeds that are pulling from it, but they're pulling from different date fields. And so, yeah, depending on if you have an account with me, you can move stuff around and edit them. It'll actually edit the record and it'll tell you that. You can also click and drag to create a new record. And if you have any record coming from any of your feeds that is unscheduled, meaning it doesn't have anything in the date field that you selected, you can schedule it by picking from a list. So,
now, can you display like more information on the calendar, like item?
right now, you can only show one field. However, you can choose not to show the primary field. So with Airtable's regular calendar views, it only lets you show like the leftmost column. I let you pick any column for what to display, but you can only show
Is
one
it something
field.
that's like maybe going to be a thing at some point here?
I mean, it could be. There's the calendar system that it's using is called Full Calendar, fullcalendar.io. It's open source and I love it. It's using version 4.0. They are on version 5.0, which is incompatible with Airtable's custom apps environment. And in 5.0, it like the options that I have as a developer for showing more than just one thing in the body of like the event shown on the calendar is more robust. So I would love to use version 5.0. It might still be possible in the version that I'm using. It would just take a bit more noodling. And
No, I was just curious because you might see use for this, like, call it, any kind of event booking, like where they, what different types of events are available on different days, and whether or not an event is booked or available or something like.
Yes, or time blocking meetings and things.
yeah, it would certainly be useful. It's just there's
Complexity,
already a
yeah.
lot of settings that you have to deal with. And I don't want to overwhelm people, but yeah, I'm certainly open to suggestions. It's just going to take a while to get there.
My
I'm just
question,
thinking if you design the settings like the cards on a gallery view or something, where you can kind of add different things in or hide them, like obviously that's super complex, but like
Yeah, it's
but just that interface wouldn't be overwhelming, I don't think.
What's your pricing model?
interesting point. I have decided for the first run of Master Calendar that I'm only charging people $5 a month for literally any base. You can install it like infinitely and you'd still only pay me $5.
or how are you doing with sales?
I haven't checked because I'm scared.
So you have a hosted version and something that people can buy.
It's a subscription model. So anyone can get it. If you have a pro or enterprise workspace with Airtable, you can install it from the marketplace. And if you are not logged in, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to set up as many feeds as you want, but it'll only pull from the first two. And if you were to try and move a record, it won't let you, or, add a new one, it won't let you. So
I think you're answering the question I had. And when I looked at this, I was really impressed. But my first thought was outside of and I can't remember what Aaron calls it. Aaron, it's a Kornblatt. What's Aaron's last name?
Hornbuilt.
Hornbuilt. Yeah, I'm sorry, Aaron. I'm sure he doesn't listen, but he calls it, I think, active editing. So basically, when you move something on a Kanban board, they've got a fancy name for, like, you actively edited a record. So basically saying you don't have to open up and change the type, you just did it here. So besides the actively editing the date, what's the difference between this and just taking a bunch of calendar feeds and putting it on a Google Calendar that's open?
nothing.
Okay.
In the free version of this, it solves like the immediate issue of just if you had two tables that you wanted to look at one place and still be within Airtable. You could just as easily use the embed block and embed a Google Calendar like in your sidebar.
And have the feeds going to that.
Right, you could do that. Or, if you want to be able to edit everything in relation to each other without having to switch back and forth between Google Calendar and Airtable, you could do it within the body of Master Calendar.
Yeah, and Master Calendar on your $5 plan, you can also create a record there that's going to actually write to Airtable. That doesn't happen on Google Calendar.
Correct. And Google Calendar doesn't have the unscheduled capability. So
you should let me do a side-by-side comparison marketing piece for you.
yeah, if you want, I will not stop you.
Yeah, you give me a month of free Master Calendar if I do.
Sure.
Okay. Barter real time.
It's $5. I'll be fine.
For anybody watching, this is a negotiation works. This is a masterclass in converter.
High finance.
So yeah, it's available. My next headache is what I'm tentatively calling My Records, which is what essentially it will do is for any table you have in your base, if you have a collaborator field that's assigned to you, it will show it all in one spot.
That's nice.
Yeah. Next headache.
You
That's
were working on an invoice thing too, weren't you?
Yeah, there's so many apps that I've made and then abandoned. So with the issue with that is onto Air Amplify basically did what Invoicer did, but was much more flexible. So it was like, what's really the point of using this versus that? So it's done. If anyone wants it, I can, you know,
My big
roll it
problem
out
with
individually.
with all the apps, I love this, I love all of them, is I hate to say it, but screen real estate is so precious. I always felt like the apps drawer is eating the only bit of sanity I have.
You can drag it.
I'm saying you
You
can make
can.
it bigger or smaller, but I'm just saying I don't want to waste any of the real estate. To me, like once, you know how they made the Gantt view a view? I almost wish they could do something more creative. And again, we talked about Notion. The show, I think, started talking about Notion. One of the things that's great about Notion, I didn't show my Notion. I'll show it later if you want. But one of the things I love about Notion is the fact you can have kind of these dashboardy views. And like you really can't have that with, I can have a dashboard by pulling the app tray all the way out and put a bunch of stuff in there, but then I can't really mess around with the records. It throws me back to the other view. I feel like Airtable's kind of user experience is like somebody who's just learning to drive a stick shift. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. And that was a great analogy.
Great visual.
Yeah, thank you. That's what that's what they pay me for.
At least you're the type of guy to drive new cars after a while and not stay only driving the car you first learned on, eh?
Oh yeah, that was a great analogy too. I heard they don't make stick shifts anymore. Does anyone know if that's true?
By Subarus.
They definitely, not every, like they're going away from it, but some still do.
So this is Chris Dancy's original Notion, the thing that was developed at the same time as my original Airtable. And like I said, there are a couple of things I liked about it. I like the fact you can just jump around to these sections, basically hitting that. So basically it's the same thing as that. I like the fact I could put these different headers that told me what to do each day, kind of for my business. You could see I have my Airtable originally in here. Plus I really like simple things. Like we just had a huge kind of storm here in Texas, and someone needed the, flood information for this, but
you had like an HOA map.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just going to say, but now, the Airtable really comes in handy because if I go to the HOA app that I built and we do have a, flood or stream creek, I think it's under creek. I can't remember what creek. Yeah. So I have it in here.
With this search, can you like somehow add other tags that like would come up as keywords in addition to whatever the title is?
It'll search for anything in the article or the tag itself.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty clever that way. What it doesn't do is I have.
This is Ori, just so people. This isn't Notion.
Yeah, sorry. I'll go back to Notion. I jumped. But again, so back to Notion. I liked it. I mean, it was a bunch of really cool stuff. I like the fact that I had these kind of stacks that allowed me to see the different things I was working on, travel, here's my fall tour. I think I was all over Europe. Russia and Visa, stuff like that.
Kind of reminds me of Squarespace also.
I feel like Airtable is a lot sexier than this. This just seems like a folder system, like Google Drive.
And again, I get in trouble from the Notion people all the time because I say Notion invented HTML. It's just like when people talk about, well, it's just because it's just hyperlinking. I just don't think they've done anything remarkable. Just like Obsidian and all these kind of networked thought things, I get it. People are impressed by it, but has anyone ever said show source on Google Chrome? I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's that remarkable, but it's pretty. I'm not gonna, say anyone's wrong for I mean, I'm gonna be talking to Marie Pullen. She's like the queen of Notion. I get it. I think I spend too much time in the Notion subreddit. It's just very depressing. Does anyone ever go to the Notion subreddit? No.
I don't spend much time on Reddit at all.
Okay.
That I find surprising.
So I'll show you guys why Notion depresses me. It said screen sharing failed to start. Let me find out why. Am I sharing now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of times, like when I look at the Notion subreddit, and again, I just love it. It's like it's all these people selling these templates, right? And I get it. It's really empowering, but at some point, you actually have to work out. right? It's like people have spent all this time building these things, and it's just like anything else. When you buy a diet book or anything else.
That particular one looked like you could do it in Airtable, no problem.
In about 30 seconds. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
you can use again. It's not as bad as and then people will sell just these dashboards. So you can buy all this stuff from this person. So you have all this done for you. And it goes back to what I was saying.
Just buying someone else's values.
Exactly. Thank you. This is what I go back. People contact me about Airtable all the time, not because of what I've done with Airtable, because of this. And that takes me back to our originally started with, we need to talk about emotions and software. Because I'm a big proponent. Camille, you gotta let me show you my my kind of wizardy Airtable that I've been using for spiritual stuff, because I've been dying to get your help on it. I have something called what I'm now calling Spirit Table, but every day I come in and I do my mental health, physical health, spiritual ratings, and it allows me to draw a tarot card. But I'm using the I can't remember what they call it, this flashcard viewer in Airtable to kind of draw me a card every day, and I want some way to do it from within here. The other thing that's really cool is I now have a link to when you put an emotion in for the morning, it'll automatically pull the crystals and chakras on where to put it. So yeah, fun stuff. I've been dying to show this to you. I've actually been trying to get on Aaron's show. I want Aaron to like take apart my spirit base one by one. Fun stuff. What do you think, Camille?
I think it's cool. I'm at the point in my obsession with building apps that I am determined to build an app for anything, which is contrary to the whole point of no code, but I enjoy coding, which is why I have a coding company. It's what I do. So when you were saying it allows you to select a tarot card, what I wanted to do was like, oh, you could build your own interface where it would select one at random for you at the start of each day.
Yes. Yeah, and that's kind of my thing. But what I want to do, because you log your emotions in it, I want it to automatically, and it does this now because I did the linking to the chakras. But for the tarot card, when it does your tarot, the thing I didn't show you is it automatically pulls up a link for you so you can actually go to that tarot video for the day. So down here, you'll see it tells you a little bit about this, and you can go watch like a 3-minute video. But I love the fact that it automatically will script out what your inspiration, your reflection, your kind of moments for the day. But to your point, if it drew the card for you, I'd like it to automatically give you some things to do that day and things to think about. Like I've taken time to write all these things, but to your point, like a tarot app is great, but like a tarot app that doesn't tell you like what to do is kind of not. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I think with Airtable, this is like such a cool, I don't know, opportunity for people. And I keep my Chris Stancy life base, the one with all that cool like management stuff, away from this one because it's too much. Never let your heart and your mind mingle in the same place. They're not friendly to each other, trust me.
I feel like the solution there, but I don't know anything about like coding a lot of this stuff, is to write a script to randomize the poll. But I don't know how I would write the script. That'd be a Camille.
Most of my apps start off as scripts. Scheduler was a script first. It was actually like 6 different scripts, the same script, but with slight variations each time. And I was like, this should be one thing. And so that's why it became an app. And so, all good. It's the same thing. They're both built out of JavaScript.
Almost similar to Chris's whole philosophy: don't automate it if you can't do it manually first. Don't make an app out of it if you can't script it first.
Yeah, essentially. The difference is really between a script and an app is just with
an interface.
Yeah, in direct relation to Airtable, the difference between using the scripting app and then building your own custom app is just a better user interface, and it's not asynchronous, or it doesn't have to be asynchronous. For non-coding folks, that means you don't have to do the same series of steps one after the other. With a custom app, you can go backwards and forwards, or split off into different directions. With scripting app, everything has to be sequential, the same sequence every time.
Yeah, before we had automations, we had cron. Um, I'm Chuck and I are old school. We go back to the 80s and 90s with this stuff.
I'm still maintaining cron jobs to this day.
Right. If anyone's interested who's watching the show and made it this far, if you want to see more Camille, if it's your first Camille peek, I've been a huge fan forever. I literally begged her. You check out christancy.com/airtable, and you can see her keynote from last year's conference that she did. It was remarkable. And you get to see her socks.
Yeah.
If you're
I have
into
Airtable
socks.
socks, and also at any given moment, I have Airtable merchandise not far from me. It's real, guys.
Bling. All right.
Yeah,
The Camille Parks is real.
yeah. The benefit of infecting literally every Airtable community is that I'm just loaded with Airtable swag.
Camille, I'll just show you something else. The spirit table I showed you sends me an email every day telling me where I'm at in time.
Cool.
And what to do. Right. And then every day, if I don't read the email, I get an update from Twitter, because the Airtable tweets and emails me the information. I thought you'd be so proud of me.
Well, you made a Twitter specifically for this space.
Yeah. So this space tweets out to that Twitter account, because a lot of times people don't realize what season they're in or what moon cycle they're or anything else. And I wanted people to be able to sign up for either an email. You can sign up to get the calendar integration. So I'll send you our URL so you'll get this information sent right to your calendar, or you can follow it on Twitter for like anyone can follow it on Twitter. Because
or you can have like levels of access to the base.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten that far yet. I'm working on it. Cool.
One, not to shame it. Camille, I think your apps are fantastic. I have seen some Airtable apps. Sometimes I'll go to Chris's Twitter and I'll click on this first image here. And this is what I think when I see some of the other Airtable apps that people try to launch. Like that's
what I'm trying to avoid.
Yes.
I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. The last thing that you want, that's kind of the difference between, we were kind of talking about it earlier, like at what point you just hired a developer to make something for you. When you have to see the bottom picture, if that's what it takes to run, then it's not a general purpose app anymore. It becomes too insane, and you might as well get something that's custom built for you. Whereas if you're in the middle picture, the middle zone.
This is another of my collection. I think everybody's seen the swing set that goes product vision, and it goes through various.
Can you share it? Do you have it?
I'm sorry, I don't have it right here.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I know the one you're talking about. It's a great one.
It is. And the other one is, if Google designed a plane, if Microsoft designed a plane, all these little pictures that express it in 5,000 words, express 5,000 words worth.
I'll show you how bad my user interface has gotten. I recently got so tired of losing my AirPods that I got Air tags and then named my AirPods red and white so I can figure out which ones I'm using, and then put them in the matching color coordinated cases with matching color coordinated Air tags. So now I'm never confused, because I don't know if you guys have this problem where you're in so many meetings or you've got so many different headsets and things, like you can never tell what's what. And the other thing is AirPods, you're always losing them. So the new chip in the Air tags allows me to find them super fast.
Chris, I have a solution to you losing your AirPods.
Just have one pair.
Wire.
Dude, do you not see what I'm sporting today? Do you guys not see what I'm sporting? Did anyone notice? This is like Muhammad and Devin. I literally, this is my first day with the wire.
Really?
This is my first day. Go back and watch the old shows.
I am. I'm pretty pro wire a lot of the time, honestly. I used to live in an apartment building, and my wireless headphones just. I mean, obviously, I think they were a bit older, and they were getting on them close to the cordless phones spectrum. So I'd be in my kitchen and picking up the neighbor's conversation.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're an Apple user, the struggle is real, because Apple has this feature called handoff, where like if you're near another Apple device, it thinks it wants to pick up. And like I've got my MacBook, I've got my Mac Mini in here. I've got an iPad. I got my phone. I've got 4 or 5 sets. I literally put on earbuds in, and it doesn't know what to do. Then, if I take the earbuds out, God forbid I take the earbuds out for 1 second. Now it wants to connect to my earbuds in my pocket, like my junk wants to call someone. It's like, no, now is not the time to connect. I mean, have you ever? Why does it wait till they're in your pocket? I know it's a heat thing. Don't get me started, but it's just like it's been so hard lately. So I thought, okay, I'm going to wire. I just ordered the new Apple headphones, the new Maxes or whatever they are.
My
But
friend
you're-
spent like $1,200 or $1,500 on AirPod Pros because he always loses them. So I think using those tags are great.
I have AirPod Pros. I don't use these because my ears are basically like an alien. They push them out. Like this will be my ear just fine, and all of a sudden my eardrum will go, not today. It just slowly pushes it out, and then it drops out. It falls in whatever I'm eating. As soon as you know I've swallowed a battery, I'm being rushed to the emergency room. I didn't, it's just like I'm dead. It's like 2 seconds. It started as a phone call, then I ate a battery, and I'm dead. That's my life. Off the rails.
Oh, I have a 1.9 meter cable on this, so like
You size queen.
for me, like I just it's wireless enough. I can walk anywhere in the room with it. So, although I can't walk outside the room, which is certainly a downside. But you can buy these wirelessly now. So.
Devin, you can see I was thinking you're not the only size queen on the show. Look at this thing.
How long is that?
Yeah, that's what they ask me every time I pull it out. So no, I think no, seriously, I think it's like 9 feet. Because I didn't want to have to like choke or so I got this really long thing so I can walk over to my closet and all this stuff. This is great. Amazon.
I'm not sure I could deal with a cord that's longer than I am tall, which is saying a lot.
I mean, you could go over to your. I can't tell if you're in a cubicle or in an office, but if you're in a cubicle place, you could go to the next cubicle and just have a conversation while you're still listening to music.
No one's here. I'm alone in a void.
Yeah. No.
Camille, I don't know if you answered earlier, but are you a Airtable app user or a browser user?
I forgot. Someone else said that they forgot there was an Airtable app, and so did I. I made an app for a custom app for somebody else, and there's some slight variances in how the Airtable app handles CSS versus, Chrome or Safari, etc. And so they're like, oh, these buttons are running together when we use it in the app. And I was like, what? What do you mean? I forgot straight up that there was a desktop app. I never use it.
Oh, see, I
Not
barely use the
promoted
browser.
anywhere when you sign up. It doesn't prompt you to go to it.
There's not too many advantages other than like distraction-free mode. You can't hop onto your email and whatever while you're doing your Airtabling, but there's not too many advantages if you're already using a desktop, from what I've seen.
But what I was saying, the reason I've been preferring it lately is, and this could be just me dreaming this, but whenever I reduce the size of the screen in the browser, it doesn't seem to resolve as clearly as it does in the app. Does that make sense? Like the text seems to be almost fuzzy in a browser, but in the app, it looks really good. So if I'm looking at, one of my apps, my Airtable in all 49 glorious inches, it looks not bad in small
You
view.
can see all 49 inches. Can you make a full screen share?
Sure. You mean share right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to move my Zoom.
I've only used the iOS. Does the desktop app allow for multiple connections?
Multiple windows or multiple users?
Multiple window. I like to open one base.
Many different windows.
Browsers.
Yeah. I've had you can open many bases too. Like you can open like 5 of one base or 3 of the next one. Like it's basically just similar to Chrome tabs, but it's just in an app.
Maybe I need to download the desktop then. Are you talking about the desktop, Devin, or the app? I'm sorry, the desktop or the browser?
Desktop app, yeah.
Okay.
What I noticed also in the desktop app is it's somehow faster than the browser. I don't know. When it switched from a table to another table, it loads very fast, very faster than the Chrome.
Because Chrome's got a bunch of other shit running.
Yeah, I use Microsoft Edge and I don't have that experience.
I use also Microsoft Edge. No, I have the same experience with Edge and Chrome. Maybe because I have a lot of records in my base.
Here's 49 inches.
Well, yeah, it doesn't look fuzzy. It is very small.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can get bigger and it becomes a lot clearer. But I mean, on my side, I don't know, how much resolving. It's very clear on my side. It's ridiculously clear. And then when you look at, all my tables are, like my transactions table, which has all of my accounting, sometimes those rows can go on and on and on and on and on for days. Because there's so many things that a business transaction can tie into. But, at the end of the day, when I come in here and just look at my basically interactions tab and I want to see who I'm contacting and how, being able to, zoom over and see everything. It's just, it's glorious.
That many columns. I think that was another big benefit we talked about, was freezing like half of your screen.
Yes, I forgot about do you guys freeze columns? Does everyone freeze columns?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm crazy for freeze columns and grouping. A lot of times I have a customer says, well, you told me this on this date. I just come into our customer view. I go down to the date and they go, actually, that's not what you said. This is what you said, and then send them a picture and a link to the video where they said what they said. It's just like, weaponize Airtable before it's weaponized against you.
Well, I'm really fascinated by the fact that you're using Edge and saying that it's fast. I'm wondering if you compared, because the Chrome and Edge both use the same rendering engine. They're both Chromium based, but Chrome puts all this stuff to do ad tracking and other great things into their engine. And have you tried them side by side? You're starting to convince me that I should go ahead and start opening up my Edge more.
So I love Microsoft Edge. I'm like one of their biggest cheerleaders. They just released vertical tabs also, so kind of that Notion style tabs, which it's changed everything. But in that particular instance, I was comparing it with my experience with the Airtable desktop app.
Yes. Okay.
I have not compared them side by side. I just prefer a lot of the kind of customizability of the interface of Microsoft Edge personally. And you can install sites as apps.
I have a quote I thought I'd share since we're probably getting close to the top of the hour. Is anybody familiar with Terence McKenna? Chuck, maybe? No. Oh, well, Terence McKenna, if you get a chance, Google him. Great man, philosopher, very, very edgy for his time. But he had this quote from the 70s I loved. And I thought it'd be kind of a great way for me to get my thinking. Quote is, the only difference between a drug and a computer is one is slightly too large to swallow. And our best people are working on that problem. I just think, if we could somehow come to terms with the drug that is the computer, we'd be a much happier world.
My God, that's so true. I just took a screenshot of it.
Yeah. Maybe Ben, we can have a quote of the week, and I'll bring some like crazy inspirational quote from some crazy wicked cyborg from the past.
Well, we'll have the historical quote of the week, and then at the end of every show we'll record Chris's quote of the week.
I don't know if I have one. They usually happen.
The theme of it, like the main quote, is still the values and data one. That one's like been burned into my head ever since I heard it, I think in the users conference.
Oh.
Which for those of you who aren't aware with that one, it goes like, how's it go? Like if you don't lead your data with values, your values. How does it go?
I don't remember. I usually tell people we have to stop valuing our schedules and start scheduling our values. That's kind of the default one I say at conferences. The other one I say at conferences all the time is we don't know how to measure what we care about, so we care about what we measure.
That one.
That's kind of like my default motto, because a lot of people, I think Airtable's biggest problem with most people is they don't know how to measure what they care about, so they just care about what they can measure. And I think at the end of the day, Airtable works best when you say, what is it you value? I don't care what your business is. What is it you value? What do you want to do with your time? Build your Airtable around that. But people get so obsessed with, but I could do this, but I could do this. Can you imagine if you treated food that way, or love that way, or friendship that way. And what we kind of do with friendship, I mean, people collect people on Facebook like they're going out of style. Like, you know, at some point, people look up words, learn definitions, and stick to them. You can't collect people like charm dolls. Don't link into everyone on LinkedIn. It's called LinkedIn, not link everybody. Yeah.
It would be interesting if there was a LinkedIn account that had linked to everybody, though. That would be.
Well, they do. They're called lions. Have you heard of lions on LinkedIn? These people literally go around there. It's called open networking. Their goal is to connect to as many people as possible.
Oh, sure. But no, I mean, like, imagine having access to an account that literally was friends with every single account on Facebook, like some
Like
kind
the-
of like
MySpace
admin.
guy.
Like the Kevin Bacon. Tom. Yeah.
Tom.
I think on Facebook you run out at like 10,000 friends.
Really?
You have to start deleting them if you want to go more, or if you want to add other people.
Yeah, it used to be 5,000. I don't know. I always forget to check, and I always have people sitting on Facebook trying to friend me, and then they'll just say, "I've tried to friend you online. You know, you have my phone number." You know, like, it's like, I understand that you want to passively stalk my entire history before you get to know how I'm feeling, but maybe we should start a little bit slower with this relationship.
So I saw Dan from OpenSide. He had posted something about Google like Sheets adding some features. So
Yeah, they just launched like a Notion ripoff today.
Yeah, it looked like, was it this one? Just kind of using the links. I saw they added a Gantt view.
Hadn't they previously done an Airtable ripoff?
Yeah, I forget what it's called now, but
But it
they
was
have
defunct, isn't it?
I haven't heard anything of it recently, but they were starting, or they probably already stopped it, their own Airtable-esque thing.
Yeah, it's tables. It's tables by Google. The other one is Canvas. So Canvas is the Notion ripoff. Tables is the Airtable ripoff. Now, Ben, if this is you, Sharon, you've got to go to killedbygoogle.com so we can see where these products will end up.
Yeah, no, it's a
There's-
nice, lovely website.
Have you guys talked about spreadsheets.com before?
Never, but I literally I got my start in spreadsheets.com like a long time. Is it spreadsheets? Yeah, I think it's spreadsheets. What do you think about it? I liked it back in the day.
Well, is there a back in the day? Because it seems like they haven't released yet. They're still in beta.
Oh, okay. I'm not thinking of this. I'm thinking of Smart Sheets.
Yeah, you're okay. It's something else where it's basically the interface of Google Sheets, but with a lot of Airtable functionality, like this weird Frankenstein connection between the two. I was wondering if anyone here had heard of it yet.
What is it called again?
Spreadsheets.com.
I heard of it from, I think, the Built on Air Slack community, but I
Mhm.
didn't look into it at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how much money they've taken on. Because I just looked at their website. I'm like, okay, they're just taking on money and building anything.
It's almost identical to Google Sheets,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
like actually identical, like pixel perfect. Like
So I've seen a few posts from like some of the people at Softer or Stacker. I can't remember which one this week.
Probably softer.
Yeah, they do a lot of like content marketing.
Mhm.
And I kind of want to put like I don't know if anybody here watched the video or saw the thumbnail from last week. I think it was last week.
Pull up
but-
your thumbnail. Show everybody your thumbnail. I don't know if you're a big fan of the bengreen. I was an early better on the bengreen, and then a very early better on Devin, and now a very early better on Rebecca. But look at these thumbnails. This stuff is classic. Look at this. Airtable's new front end. Kill Stacker. Kill Softer. I don't know what the other one is.
Corey,
Pori.
rip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's another one with Howie. There's one with Howie that's pretty good. Where did it-
That was up higher. Yeah. The End of Innocence. I remember that one.
yeah.
Yeah. I should promote your channel more. Get you some more views. We just told people I was on here. They'd come watch me rant.
They do. These videos get lots of views.
You should have like warning, like Chris Danty goes off like that should be the thumbnail. Warning, warning, you know. something like
your
that.
face and your emoji face and an exclamation point.
I hate how, oh my gosh, the way people, I shouldn't go off, but what people do with those thumbnails. There's this one guy named Tom. He does YouTube videos. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Tom something. He's English. He's always explaining stuff. He's got gray hair.
That could be anybody.
Like
An English man with gray hair who explains stuff. Very, very
English. I'm going to Google.
Quite anybody.
Oh, you guys are terrible.
Tom is like the most common name.
But no, he's like a famous Tom. He's like a big YouTuber. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Scott.
Right. What did you Google? I bet you Googled English guy, YouTube, gray hair.
I googled Tom YouTube explains things.
English guy.
I didn't even say
Tom.
English. I just said Tom YouTube explains things.
Yeah, that's him, Tom Scott. Yeah.
I got Tom and Jerry.
Don't make fun of my Googling.
Okay.
Most connected.
I have never heard of him, but I do know English YouTuber Tom Scott, different person. Not at all the same.
Tom Scott, this guy gets it. He got 3 million subscribers. He gets a lot of views and people love his stuff. But one of the things I love talking about Tom Scott is I once got to watch him do a TED talk or something. And you learn the power of editing really fast when you you watch someone on YouTube all the time and then you get to see them talk extemporaneously. You think, you're not that clever, are you? It's like to pull 2 sentences out of your mouth simultaneously is like impossible for these people, you know? And I just wondering if we're not raising a generation of children who are constantly editing in real time. And that's why they're so quiet. It's like, oh, I haven't finished the edit of what I want to say. Just say it. Like, that's the kind of cool thing about life. You live. It's just like out on the edge. Your heart will beat fast. You might sound stupid, but it's okay. You know, sorry.
I think that was when I was first starting, that was like one of the hardest things for me was I would do so much editing, like cutting out like pauses and stuff like that. But I think just over time you get better and you quit having to pause, you quit having to think as much.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a reason why I don't have my own YouTube channel. I'm
You'd
not
be
built for that.
amazing.
Well, you say that now. I'm good if I can speak in like long, unbroken periods of time, but I can't. I'm not built for the kind of edited, if you will,
you need to
vibe of YouTube.
Honestly, if people were doing tutorials, I could kind of go for that because a lot of tutorials cut out all the crap and then end up being way too fast.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I usually slow it down. But Camille, I think what's so remarkable about you, and I don't know if you'll ever see this in yourself, is you have an effortless grace.
Aw. So
Look
what
at
you're saying is
Rebecca's shaking her
I
head.
can never be on this show again because it's just going to be Chris complimenting me the whole time.
I compliment everybody. What is wrong with you people? Okay, you're gonna make me get out a crystal and heal your chakra.
Nothing undeserved, Camille.
Thank you.
All right, kids, I'm gonna use my sage spray and head to bed. It's 7:30.
Yeah, so thank you all for coming to week 18. Hope to see everybody back here. Thank you. We saw some new faces, some returning faces. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Deuces.
Bye bye.